2 Dracula pictures. Some people have complained that they're sick and tired of us picking so often on Kung Fu films as our dog of the week. Well, this week, thanks to George Hamilton and Susan St. James and an awful script, my dog is Love at First Bite, a toothless Dracula comedy. George Hamilton as Dracula simply doesn't know how to play comedy. You don't make fun of a comic character. It's much funnier if you play him straight. Now, George Hamilton, when he romances a woman in a contemporary disco.
Look into my eyes and tell me what you see.
They're bloodshot, and you had too much to drink last night.
What else?
I don't know. You tell me.
Love. I love you. And I can give you eternal life.
That says it all, a very unfunny film. If I hadn't been reviewing Love at First Bite, I would have left the theater at first glance.
On the other hand, Gene, what if you really wanted to sink your teeth into the vampire legends? I can't think of a worse movie to see than a new pseudo-scientific, pseudo-historic, pseudo-serious, would-be documentary named In Search of Dracula. The movie goes in search of the Dracula legend with lots of shots of castles in Romania and sinister graveyards in the Black Forest, all narrated by veteran vampire Christopher Lee, who makes a list of the things that can kill off vampires. Things like silver crosses and stakes through the heart, and garlic and mirrors, and innocent virgins and thorns of rose bushes. But he forgot one thing that can also kill off vampires, and that's this movie.
I bet you. Well, my dog this week is Dr. Butcher, a disgusting horror film that opens with a hand slowly being sawed off a corpse. And while we're still in the first reel, we see a hospital attendant cut out a heart of a patient and begin to eat it on camera. Yes. I wanted to leave, but I hung in for a while, all in the name of Dog of the Week. It seems that all the cannibalism is being done by members of a South American tribe, and the film turns into a voodoo adventure on the mysterious island of Quito as a couple of doctor types and a shapely nurse and newspaper reporter are chased by crazed cannibals for the last half of the picture. That means shrunken heads full of worms, and yes, more cannibals eating more hearts. My favorite idiotic line in the movie, I couldn't believe this one, occurs when a doctor tells the group they don't have serious problems with the cannibal. No, he says, they only eat the dead, so you have nothing to worry about as long as you're alive. Thank you very much, sir.
I think I'll check out of that hospital. Yeah. My dog this week is named the Boogens. It's about boogie monsters from beneath the surface of the earth. The movie takes place in a little mining town out in the west where everybody spends a lot of time playing pool, drinking beer, and driving through the snow and otherwise carrying on life as usual. For example, while the young people in the Boogens play pool, mine inspectors are creeping through an abandoned mine shaft that we know is inhabited by creepy, slimy creatures with long tentacles. About the only thing of interest in the Boogens, and you'll like this, Sparky, is a clever little poodle named Tiger. He runs around and barks and opens cabinets all by himself, and then he runs down in the basement and gets wiped out by the creepy, slimy tentacle creatures. Sorry, Sparky. My dog this week has a wonderful title, Nocturna. Ugh. That's the name of Dracula's granddaughter. And now, how, you might ask, I can already hear you asking this, does a vampire who is dead by definition reproduce himself so he has children and grandchildren? Well, don't ask. Nocturna has abandoned Transylvania for the equally forbidding streets of Manhattan, and like the good vampire she is, she sleeps all day and spends all of her nights in discos. Well, how do modern-day vampires obtain fresh human blood? By running crooked massage parlors, of course, and fighting it out with all the other lusting creatures in singles bars. The movie is completely disorganized. There are long disco passages that have nothing at all to do with vampires or anything else, and there's a subplot involving, of all people, none other than John Carradine and Wanda Carlo. They both look like they'd like to sprout wings and fly away. As a matter of fact, they do.
Saturday Night Blood Bank, right? My dog this week is the latest Peter Fonda movie, Wanda Nevada. Now, Peter Fonda has made a lot of dogs ever since setting the movie industry on its ear a decade ago with Easy Rider. In Wanda Nevada, Peter Fonda plays a Western gambler in the 50s who wins Brooke Shields in a poker game. Poor guy, doesn't he know that Brooke Shields, who is very pretty, still doesn't know how to act? He should have seen her ruin George Burns' performance in Just You and Me, Kid. Wanda Nevada is one of those us-against-the-world pictures as Fonda and Shields travel across the Southwest trying to stay one step ahead of the law. The problem with this picture is real simple. Neither Fonda nor Shields is appealing as an individual, and together, as a couple, they only double our displeasure.
Nor do they double our fun.
Yeah.
My dog this week is called Final Exam, a movie that would dearly love to be yet another dreadful mad slasher exploitation picture, but this one lacks the wit and invention and imagination to even fail at that low level. This is one of the slowest, most boring movies I can remember ever having seen. It's a series of forgettable, interchangeable characters talking endlessly about nothing in particular, while meanwhile, at the same time, Nothing else is happening. Final exam takes place on a college campus. A mass murderer is prowling through the area. Given the unwritten laws of the mad slasher movies, he will eventually plunge his knife into a variety of hapless undergraduates. Well, because we know that'll happen, and the movie knows it'll happen, why doesn't it happen? If there's anything worse than an exploitation movie filled with senseless violence, it's an exploitation movie filled with indefinitely delayed senseless violence.
Well, my dog of the week is The Hand, a laughable horror film about a cartoonist, Michael Caine, who loses his hand in a car accident. Caine and everybody else in the film is worried about the hand because it crawls away from him after the accident, and it could be lurking anywhere. Worse yet, the hand ends up acting out all the negative feelings Caine has toward his wife and anyone else who gets in his way. Now, I know this is supposed to be a psychological thriller with the hand as some kind of metaphor, but I thought the story was so ridiculous that I just kept laughing every time I saw the disembodied hand crawling around. Supposedly, it follows Michael Caine from New England to Nevada, and just the idea of the hand crawling over the expressways and the interstates, it still makes me laugh.
Do you think it signals its turn?
It might so. Okay.
You know, my dog this week is a fish called Piranha, and how do you like this for an example of brilliant thinking? See, the government has this secret project to create a new breed of piranha fish that can live in salt or fresh water, can reproduce 3 times as fast as before, and can be a secret military weapon in the Cold War. But the fish are accidentally released into a river, and they start attacking innocent swimmers and families on vacation with their tiny little low-budget jaws. Well, my favorite scene is when a victim is in the water, being eaten alive by millions of piranha, and Kevin McCarthy comes to the rescue. Now, how does he come to the rescue? By diving into the water, naturally, and swimming toward the piranha. That's really great thinking, right? Next, they'll probably make a rip-off of the Towering Inferno, in which one guy jumps off the building and another guy jumps off to catch it.
Roger, my wolfhound of the week is a totally unfunny movie called Up in Smoke, featuring the hippie comedy team of Cheech and Chong playing a couple of dope fiends trying to buy some marijuana and having a tough time finding the grass. Up in Smoke is being advertised with the slogan, "Don't go straight to this movie." The implication being, get half bagged on marijuana first. Well, any film that asks you to get smashed before you go see it must have something really bad to hide. And in Up in Smoke, it's the dialogue, which is 80 minutes of 2 jerks saying nothing but, "Hey, man."
Hey, man, how far you going, man?
Oh, right here it'd be fine, man.
Oh, man, you ain't not scared of a little speed, are you, man?
Oh, you got some speed, man?
You know, a lot of reactionary types have been saying for years they'd like to punch out a hippie. This may be the first picture to give them a legitimate excuse.
You said it, man.
My foxhound of the fortnight is Firepower, an explosion-filled action picture about a bounty hunter's attempt to capture a Howard Hughes Robert Vesco type hiding out in the Caribbean. What makes this picture a real stinker, though, is that it contains yet another depressing performance by Sophia Loren, who plays a piece of meat as she rips her skirt to an elude attacker. She, too, is trying to get to the film's billionaire in hiding. One of his henchmen has killed her husband. To watch Sophia Loren slip away from her attacker and to run down a street is to realize that what was once a fine acting career has been trashed by roles that are nothing but window dressing for an assortment of dumb action pictures. So, as much as Firepower, what's happened to Sophia Loren's acting career is really my dog of the week.
Well, Gene, I think there's a pattern going on for me on this program, some kind of underlying pattern, because first I had a good thriller named Dawn of the Dead about flesh-eating zombies. Now I have one of the worst movies of all time about flesh-eating co-eds. It's called Cannibal Girls, and it's about 3 young women with unusual tastes who live in a cabin in the woods and invite strangers home for dinner. The movie is bad enough just as it is, but they've made it even more ridiculous with the sound effects. The announcer comes on and tells us that right before the really violent scenes, an alarm will sound like this. And then when the violence is over, they sound the all clear like this. So, you know, it's safe to open your eyes. My advice for the producers of this picture would be to begin it with an ooga and end it with a ding-dong so people can keep their eyes closed during the whole thing.
Ridiculous.
Well, Gene, my dog this week is one of the dumbest, most ineptly acted, worst directed, most incredibly boring movies that I've ever seen.
Wow.
It's an all-time dog, and it's called Land of the Minotaur. Now, you know what a Minotaur is. It's a Greek god with the body of a man and the head of a bull. Well, this movie is more than half bull. The Minotaur itself looks like a plaster of Paris statue with 2 blowtorches stuck up its nose. Peter Cushing stars as a baron who makes human sacrifices to the Minotaur. Donald Pleasance plays a priest who organizes resistance to the pagans, and meanwhile, lots of girls run around screaming while they're chased by Minotaur worshippers with hoods on their heads. This movie set some kind of a record for Peter Cushing, the veteran British movie Dracula who's been in dozens of bad movies. Land of the Minotaur is without any doubt the worst Peter Cushing movie of all time.
That might make a good trivia question in a couple of years. My dog of the week is The Last Challenge of the Dragon, a thoroughly ridiculous kung fu movie. How ridiculous? Well, how about a scene where the father of a crazy mixed-up family tells his 25-year-old daughter, why don't you just act like a girl and then maybe someone will marry you? Or how about the son-in-law who tells his wife not to worry that her brother has stolen $10,000 from her purse to feed his gambling habit? Says the brother-in-law, oh, you know, he's always doing that. Of course, kung fu movies specialize in kicks to the head, not witty dialogue, so maybe it's more important to say The Last Challenge of the Dragon has people with their faces all cut up before anybody's foot crashes into their mouth. This is a true dog.
You know, they're always doing that.
My dog of the week is yet another karate film, A Force of One, which wants to be an anti-drug adventure story, but it serves up that same old chopped sake. It's the story of a California police department that hires a karate expert to train its officers in karate so they can stop a murderer who they think may be a karate expert. I wonder if they'd hire Arthur Murray if they thought the killer knew how to dance. Why don't they just shoot the guy and be done with it? Now, there's an anti-drug message every 20 minutes, but every 10 minutes there's a fight. Fights are what this film is really about. A Force of One is packed full of those familiar punches to the face and kicks to the groin. That whole anti-drug theme is just an excuse for the punch-out movie.
Sounds pretty bad. You know, Gene, I'm almost suspicious that Spot the Wonder Dog has picked my dog of the week this week out of professional jealousy. It's a kiddie matinee movie named The Magic of Lassie. And what's the matter, Spot? Do you sometimes wish you could be a big, brave collie dog and rescue tiny kittens from burning buildings, huh? Well, Lassie does all that and more in this pale and predictable imitation of the original Lassie pictures. The Magic of Lassie stars Jimmy Stewart as a kindly grandfather who gets a kiss from Lassie every morning. But then his grandchildren learn that their beloved adopted collie is legally the property of the mean old man who lives next door. Well, when the mean old man takes Lassie back home with him, well, Lassie runs away. And then James Stewart's young grandson runs away to look for Lassie. And then James Stewart runs away to look for his grandson and Lassie. And then the police start looking for all three of them. But then Lassie saves the kitten from the burning building. And then, well, sorry, Spot, but not even you could save this picture. The original Beyond the Door was an Italian ripoff of The Exorcist, badly dubbed into English. But Beyond the Door #2 breaks new ground. It's an Italian ripoff of The Omen Part 2, badly dubbed into English. Let's see, it's about a little boy with strange satanic powers, and about his mother who possesses deep and dark secrets, and about how they live in a house with creaking doors and strange noises and mysterious cold basement walls and razor blades that fly through the air, and worst of all, a disembodied hand that's always clutching at the hapless mother. And if that's not bad enough, this kid amuses himself by jumping out from behind doors and scaring people. What a sense of humor, right? My advice is forget about what's behind the door, Part 1 or Part 2, and send this little monster to summer camp permanently.
Sounds like a very good idea. My dog has a basis in martial arts. It's Circle of Iron, with David Carradine of Kung Fu TV fame serving again as a great wise master trying to teach an anxious young student. The student is thrown out of school by a mean teacher for roughhousing. Then he meets Carradine. Carradine plays many roles in order to challenge his young student, but his disguises are laughable, not frightening. Carradine is a weird dude who captures flies with his bare hands, a skill, he says, that is not designed to impress others. I can see why. That skill puts him on a par with a no-press strip from Shell, you know. Actually, the whole movie is stuck at that level.
Okay, Gene, two great dogs of the week. And speaking of dogs, are you listening, Spot? Here's a present for you from a woman in Dallas, Texas, who says that you're her favorite on the program.
She sent this to you, right?
Yes, very thankful.
Oh,
Very kind of her.
Oh, look at this. It's a squeeze toy in the form of a newspaper. You're a pretty tough critic, aren't you, Spot?